Um, we will answer to the best of our ability your questions. All you need to do is go down to the toolbar or up or however it is on your computer, and you could just chat. You hit on chat and you could type the message. If you'd like to type a private message to any one of us, you certainly can. But know that we will allow you to ask the questions, and we hopefully will be able to give you some sort of assurance of what is the best decision for you when we're done here today. And also, please know you can reach out to us anytime. We're not only limited to this, but we do recognize that I right now have probably 400 unanswered emails, and some of them are really, really important from my families. Others are garbage, and I just got to go through and find out what is what. And I'm sure you can understand that, and that's why I said I've got to have a way to get to my families more quickly. The other thing I'll say, and I promise I won't say another thing till you guys take over, is every one of these sessions are recorded, and we post them on Facebook, and we post them on our YouTube channel. And we do that just because your questions, I guarantee you, are helping other families. And we've found that this time frame works the best for our entire administration team. It is not the most convenient for all of our families. So I know that even in some of your incidents this morning, you were here and probably time off the clock at work or whatever the case may be. So we are putting everything out there so our families can see it. So with that, Damien is our host. He's like the Larry King of the Crestwood School District, and he will take it from here.
Thank you, Mr. Mahalik. Welcome, everyone.
Okay,
our first, yes.
Damien, hey, it's Mr. Gorham. Real quick, if anybody that's in the group here has a private question that they wanted to ask, as far as if their child is enrolled, if we receive their name as enrollment, if they need a Chromebook, anything that could be answered privately, or just a real simple question like that, you can private message Christy Laba, who's on this meeting, and she'll privately message you back. So if you just had a quick question, make sure your enrollment was received or something like that, you can just send her a private message. She has all the spreadsheets to check those things.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gorham.
Mm-hmm.
The first question comes in, says, I should probably know this, but what is the LMS that will be used for the Cyber Academy?
And can I just clarify, LMS is Learning Management System?
Yes.
Okay. Yep. So, Mr. Gorham, you could take that.
Yeah, so, there's a couple different systems. It depends what grade level we're talking about. The elementary level is going to be using all of the learning tools that they currently use in the brick and mortar setting. They're going to be also using Google Meet to have live sessions with the children and the students and the teachers. They're going to be following the curriculum and the reading and math series that they normally would use in the brick and mortar. On the secondary campus, the platform that we're going to be using is Admentum. So we're going to be using that. And our goal, like Mr. Mahalik said, is to staff that entire program to the best of our ability. There may be instances where we have to fill in with an Admentum teacher for some of the classes, but we're going to be using the Admentum platform. We've had teachers in for the last several weeks, and we continue to have them in daily, building courses on the Admentum platform so that they align to our scope and sequence and our curriculum here. So, and as far as the student management system, a little bit different than the learning management system, we are going to utilize the Skyward system to maintain all records, all grades for all of the students in the Cyber Academy.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. The next question is from Danielle. Can you go over the curriculum through Admentum, describe a typical school day?
Yeah, I get that. That's very similar to the last question in terms of, the curriculum is going to be very much aligned to the brick and mortar setting, the curriculum that we use and the scope and sequence we use, K through 12 at the Crestwood School District. So, you know, if it happens to be an Edmentum course taught by an Edmentum teacher, the courses are fully aligned to the PA core standards. They may be a little bit, the pacing may be a little bit different, but the curriculum through Edmentum is aligned to the state standards as well. In the event that there was a course, you know, here or there that we had to staff with an Edmentum teacher. A typical school day is again, a little bit difficult to answer unless we're talking about a specific grade level. The elementary is going to be more like a traditional school day, where they're going to have scheduled times that they need to be accountable. They need to be on and live, and they need to follow more of a structured schedule. The secondary campus will have a schedule, and they will have times when they have to be on and be accountable, but there's a little bit more flexibility there, a little bit more independent learning. So it's a little bit different depending on grade level.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rom. Next question, I believe, was answered. This kind of was answered, but I'll ask it anyway. Good morning. First, thank you for providing the platform for us to gain clarification regarding the Cyber Academy. What will the continuity be between the students that are working in school and those participating in cyber?
So I can answer that. In fact, any one of our administrators. So we are purposely wanting to try to align those as closely as possible. Now, with that said, again, the pacing will be different. So the idea that I'm in cyber in third grade, and you know my daughter's friend is in face-to-face third grade, or a hybrid, if that should ever become the case, or distance learning, will they be exactly at the same point exactly every day? You know, that's even difficult when you have 5 sections in one class, in one building, right? Because there are different learning styles. There are some units that maybe a teacher needs to go back and reteach because he or she doesn't believe their class has gained the full foundation to that unit that they need to move on. So it's going to be relatively close, but I don't know that it would be spot on every day for every kid. But the core curriculum is exactly the same. And Lauren, thank you for that.
Okay, thank you. Joanne, I sent you a link in private message to the enrollment link. Next question from
Yeah, and if I
Kristen.
just may add to that, Damon, yes, the enrollment link has been out for some time. Again, I'm sorry if your calls have been unanswered. I can't even tell you how many calls and emails are coming in. It's not an excuse, it's just being completely transparent, which is why we felt we needed to go another route to make sure we're able to answer as many questions. And we know at some point things are going to settle down, and all phone calls will be answered as they should be, very, very timely. But that link is there. Damien, if you want to put that link up for everybody as well, that is great. But we do really apologize, Joanne, that you had some difficulty getting in touch with us.
Okay, thank you. Kristen asks, if we have kids that go to daycare centers after school and take one bus home some days, but take a separate bus to their daycare on other days, is this still possible?
Yeah, so very good question, Kristen, and we're going to be putting out more information. You know, given the circumstances that we're in now, we must have active and accurate bus notes and bus rosters. We have been really in a situation here where we've been out of compliance. State law, we've been out of compliance with, because we don't know who's on our buses at times. We pull up to a daycare, sometimes 4 kids get on, sometimes 27 kids get on. So we had to make changes in this pandemic. Probably we're going to make that change anyway, because it's very, very unsafe. Fortunately, we've not had an issue. We've had issues, plenty of issues. I could tell you last year how many times a bus driver said, I have no idea who this kid is or where they're going. We'd have to trace back and found, oh, there was a bus note given at 2 o'clock today, and just not good. So that is why the situation is a pickup and a drop-off. Needs to be consistent. We will certainly honor if there needs to be a change, even if it's a temporary change, and that change is of 5 days or more, we'll make that change because situations take place. People go out of town. Grandparents need to watch our kids. Things happen. Certainly, we have to, and we would honor any court orders, custody agreements. That is always a must. And then there may be some really, really specific situations that we are going to consider, but as a whole, that process has got to stop. It's very, very unsafe. And each and every day we had hundreds of kids, hundreds boarding buses that we did not have account for with an active bus roster. And that is against state law, and we just can't allow that.
Great, thank you. The next question, good morning. I have kiddos in kindergarten, second, and third at Rice. What would a full day of cyber learning look like for the younger elementary age students? How will they stay engaged enough to pay attention for an entire day?
So, again, if Mr. Sarah and Mrs. Gregory were here, they would give you a really good explanation. I'm going to give you what I know that they would say. So, number one, absolutely, it's the biggest challenge to our cyber programming, and this is for any cyber programming, is keeping kids engaged, especially the younger kids, the kiddos, as you say. It is with the Cyber Academy, for each content area, you will have 2 to 3 live sessions. And this would be a live session right now. Me and you, we're talking. We can go back and forth and ask questions, and you can see facial expressions if your screen is on. 2 to 3 per week per content area. So it's a lot of face time, but it's still not so much where it could become difficult to maintain that level of attention for the student. It also is about 25 minutes per class that our motto is going to follow. Again, we know that there's only so much that our students are able to process before it's just overload or it's lost. And that's even in a classroom. Okay, there's, we know we have 7-hour days, but in that 7 hours, there's a lot of different activities. So we have to be very cognizant of that, and especially of our little youngsters, of which I have 2 myself at that age who will be on cyber this year, and it's my biggest concern. The one additional step that we are taking at Crestwood is having a teacher in the elementary level dedicated just to the related arts. And while may not sound like a big deal, I'm very, very proud of this because we know art and music and phys ed is something fun and something stimulating, but stimulating in a different way for our kids where, they could go and relax most of the time in those areas, but still be stimulated and still be creative. And it might be the thing that just engages them enough to want to follow that dream throughout. So we are dedicating a full-time teacher just to the related arts. Now you say, well, phys ed, well, right. I mean, she'll be creative. And there's going to be a lot of, obviously independence expected with the phys ed charting. But it means a lot to us that we keep our kids engaged in those other fun times as well. Remember, our goal for your child, if the reason you're choosing this is because of the pandemic is to give them the very best possible until we get you back here in the brick and mortar.
Okay, thank you. In regards to the LMS from the previous question, will the same LMS and approach be used if and when it is determined Crestwood will pursue a full virtual schedule?
So no, I'll say no. Again, the content and curriculum are the same. What's different is the delivery. So the Cyber Academy will provide more flexibility. Remember, we're talking about the 2 to 3 days of face time per class. We will have some recorded sessions so families can come back and look at the end of the day if parents are working or what the situation might be. The virtue, if and when we go to that, it'll be a distance learning model. So your schedule will be the schedule that you were following in your school. So you will have a math, a reading, science, whatever that schedule may be. And the understanding is that we know that the shutdown will probably not be for them, a specific amount of time. And we just want to keep everything consistent, very consistent for the students. And that's why the Cyber Academy is so important, because you will never be disrupted. Never. You will continue on this path until you choose to come back or you graduate. And you can graduate with a Crestwood diploma. Now, certainly those who have kindergarten, first, second grades, we're not thinking of graduation. But if your child's in 11th or 12th grade and this thing is the best thing you've seen. I mean, we have over 20 kids that are seniors that have opted for this year. They will walk or drive across the stage at the end of this school year with a Crestwood School District diploma. Their college transcripts will be exactly like how they were prior to the closure or prior to the pandemic. There's nothing. We are not identifying them differently in our system. The transcript would not say online, cyber, because it's not. The rigor is going to be the same. The standard is going to be the same in an alternative manner. And we did last year have 3 students finish in cyber, and we're very, very proud of those 3 kids. And they're off, I'm hoping, going to a college. I mean, I know what their plans were. I just don't know what the school's plans are. So I hope that answers your question. I know it was probably a little longer than you wanted.
Thank you. Virginia asks, my child has an IEP. In March, it seemed like an overwhelming amount of work. How do I deal with the extra work?
Yes. So great question. Beth Ann is not on here. There will be definitely differences between this time period and March. And there will be a new IEP written shortly after we begin, because this platform is much, much different. We will follow the IEP. We will provide supports from your case manager. We will accommodate. We will modify all those things that we need to do for your child. At times, there will be direct instruction taking place. So again, we're going to give the very best of special programming to those students that require it. And we know that's the area where we've got to be individual and have, private meetings with you. And we know that there's going to be a lot of adjusting and modifying and revising as long, because it is a real tough platform for most kids, and I was questioned about, well, you're pushing this, but you're saying it's difficult. No, I'm making sure we have another option for you. And I also have to prepare you, because I've worked with cyber students for the better part of 7 years, and it is different. And if you tend to procrastinate, if you tend to get easily overwhelmed, this becomes real difficult. Not impossible, but it becomes real difficult. And that's why I said we've got to communicate. And when we talk about the Crestwood Cyber Cafe and the additional supports that we're giving through our experience of watching kids, you know, really not do well in cyber because they just had no idea what the expectations were going to be. And it starts out, and anybody that's had a course, I know my first college course that I had, and it was probably only 10 years, about 10 years ago, 2012, 2010 was my first hybrid course. And it was in a doctoral program. And I will tell you, at first I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. My goodness, I look at it. That's not due to next Wednesday. And that couldn't come up with me. And even somebody that was in a doctoral program had lots and lots of years of academics under his wing, I fell apart really quick. And fortunately, I had some great classmates who said, here's how you got to pace yourself. Here's what you've got to do. Because when you see something not due to next Wednesday, and it's, a week before, you put it off. And then Saturday comes and you're starting to think, oh, I need to get that done. And then it's Sunday night and you realize this is 3 days of work. That happens the same with our kids in cyber. So that's why I caution, to understand that while this is going to be more flexible and more convenient for a lot of situations, it is not without rigor, and it is not without real high expectations and demands. But when we have a team, when we have families engaged in these meetings with us, and you know what to expect, and we know that every situation is a little bit different, and Tammy might not be able to really get to her kid until 2-3 o'clock because Grammy's watching my child, and we're going to be on and we're going to listen, but I might have to come and reinforce. We're going to know that because it's our teachers, not a teacher from South Dakota teaching your kid. It's our teachers, names that you will know and faces you have seen before, and that's important because that connection is going to be the difference between success and real hard struggles for a lot of our kids.
Thank you, Mr. Mahalik. Bruce's question was answered. Sydney asks, how will differentiated instruction and assessments be implemented for effective teaching and learning outcomes? Or will cyber be a one-size-fits-all approach?
I'm going to give that to Peg. That's a great question. Thank you for asking. Did you want us to repeat that, Peg? You can unmute her, Dave.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Okay.
She gets the response.
There you go.
So as the teachers and I have worked through training in the Edmentum platform, we've talked a lot about how to differentiate instruction across a variety of different levels for a couple of reasons. The first reason is that we know that when we left school on March 13th, our kids were here. And now some kids have learned this much and some kids stayed here and some kids sort of slid back and regressed a little bit in their skills and knowledge base. So one of the pieces of the Edmentum software that is really appealing to me is a diagnostic assessment that helps us understand exactly where the kid is at. So that assessment will help drive where the direct instruction goes in that particular content area. So let's use math, for example. If I'm a 6th grade student, I'm beginning my studies of algebra. So I'm taking a look at, through this assessment, how well the students know and understand how to handle fractions, because if they can handle fractions, then they can handle inequalities. We take a look at, do they understand that solving for X and X means something, and what does that look like? So that assessment will help us decide, do they need to stay in the traditional self-paced curriculum that Edmentum offers, or do we need to go back and pick up those independent skills that students haven't acquired yet through no fault of anyone's, but they simply haven't acquired those skills? Do we need to go cherry pick those not cherry pick those skills based on the assessment to backfill where the kid needs to be? The same goes in the other direction for kids that really truly understand mathematical principles and are ready for algebra. This assessment will take that information and will drive us into higher level algebra skills. So instead of just solving for X, maybe they're solving for X and Y. So that kind of process is built into one of the Edmentum's platforms, and it will be very, very helpful in that differentiation. So I hope that helps you understand where we were headed with this process.
Thank you, Mrs. Foster. The next question by Kimberly, I think some of this was answered, but one part of it, she says, hi, can we still enroll in the Cyber Academy? And what happens if a child starts going to school in person and school needs to stop due to COVID case? Will those kids have the opportunity to go to cyber? If not, what is the learning platform?
So, yes, number one, you still can enroll, okay? We did stop enrollment yesterday we stopped it. Now, you're here saying, well, that's not fair because I didn't hear this, and we understand that. We stopped it just because we need to schedule the kids that we currently have, get them all in place, and then, so yes, you can enroll, and we will work towards getting your child in place. It's just the first set of Chromebooks, which we're going to deliver tomorrow, or at least have for pickup tomorrow. There will be, obviously probably another 2 weeks before we're ready for the second cohort. So if school stops, okay, for a COVID shutdown, then I will tell you, and again, we are looking at that model very, very closely, because that guidance was not given to us until the 10th. And there are definitely things in there that as an administrative team, we have very deep concerns about. But the model for the Crestwood Cyber Academy will remain. No disruption. They stay. The other students will go to distance learning. Okay, so I don't want to confuse you because, well, what is that? But to give you the simplest version of this, those in school will follow their school schedule. They'll have their same teacher, they'll have the same courses, the same time every day. So whatever my schedule was prior to the closure, that will remain. The Cyber Academy will also continue with their same schedule, uninterrupted. So we can't at that point allow people bouncing back and forth because it's a staffing issue. And really, you're getting the same curriculum, and in essence, nothing really is changing academically. The change will be now the school, for whatever reason, can't operate, but we know that that's not going to be long term. Maybe 2 to 5 days because there's a positive case, maybe longer. And again, those are the things that we've got to see. If we go to a hybrid model, there's still a lot. We know that our families, the feeling of, well, I feel much better now as a hybrid model, I'm coming back. We know that that's not really making our families that are choosing this to feel any better, because the buses are still the buses, the lunch lines are still the lunch lines, the classrooms, and even there's half the kids in it, are still a lot of kids, and the hallways are still, and we're social distance. We know that that's not going to make that difference for our families to say, well, we're going back to that because it's only half the kids. I spoke to so many families, not some of you on here today I have, and I know that that's, you're going to feel comfortable when we have 14, 21, 28 days of no new cases, when there's a vaccination. Not all of you, I know some, I'm not saying you have to get the vaccination. I'm saying this is the conversations I'm having. When there's a treatment, that we know that if I should get it, a loved one should get it, my child, that there's the outcome, is much, much better for us feeling that way personally. So we will close the schools and close the ability to move back and forth, because that helps nobody. moving back and forth through these models helps no one because it becomes a staffing issue for us. And your child will be getting in a groove in the system that they're in. So again, I apologize for the long answers, but I'm trying to stress the most important things that I've learned along the way.
Thank you, Mr. Mahawk. The next question is from Maori. What happens if parents are not at home all day?
Yeah, so Maori, again, with the Cyber Academy, we understand that there's situations, right? So what I will say is that number one, we want your child to be on face-to-face as often as can be, because that's the real connection piece. You know, that's where your child's going to get engaged, going to see other, other students and be able to ask questions and have them answered in real time, laugh and smile. I could tell you last year when my wife's a teacher, kindergarten teacher in another district, and the first time she went online, teaches kindergarten, there was 25 kids, and out of those 25, probably 20 were just tearing because they saw my wife's face for the first time. That's so dynamic, folks. We cannot ever dismiss the importance of how much your children love their teacher. And probably you too. And while this is a new year and it takes a while to regain that type of, affection for the people teaching us, it happens quickly, especially in the primary levels. And in the secondary levels, your kids already know the teachers. I had a parent say to me, kid was second grade going to third, and she said to me, really a powerful conversation. She said, my child's been waiting for kindergarten to get this teacher. And now we might not be able to get that teacher because we're going online. The kid was waiting from kindergarten to get this teacher. And I wrote him an email shortly after saying, you realize the impact you've got on your kids that you don't even see every day? Kids are waiting to get to your room. So, so Maury, and I hope I'm saying that wrong or saying it right, but I probably am not, Maori, we need to try to get your kids on. If it's a grandparent, a neighbor, a friend, whoever is providing that while you're doing what you need to do, you've got to try to do all you can do. And yes, there will be recorded lessons. It's just that you miss that interpersonal stuff with the recordings. But we're going to work with you. We have to work with you. We're coming into this knowing that your situation is not the same as the others. And we're going to do all we can to get us all to the other side of this.
Thank you again, Mr. Mahawk. Next question, Danielle. Will specials be incorporated in Cyber Academy, and how does that look? Will there be opportunity for any in-person activities should that fit into a family's comfort zone?
So I'll take the elementary, and then John and Peg take the secondary. Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, we will have a teacher dedicated to the related arts in the elementary. How does that look? Well, I honestly can't tell you because that's not my area of expertise. I know that in the conversations I've had with the teacher, and we'll announce who the specific teachers are shortly. We've announced the teachers as a whole, but specifically their positions. They know that they have the support to be creative, to encourage research now. How's the best way to do an art lesson, to do a music lesson online? How the best way to, incorporate phys ed and all the different activities that go along with that. But I will absolutely tell you, she's or he is going to be as creative as can be, and hopefully as engaging for your children, because we know these are fun times, and we want that to be a part of this process. Will there be an opportunity for any in-person activities? If we have any in-person activities, yes, your children are a part of it because they're a part of our school. It's going to be a little logistics. We'll take care of it. If we should have picture days, there should be a Halloween parade, which I can tell you right now, all that seems absolutely not possible right now. Things could change. If there's an assembly, if there's, a special, outdoor activity that we have, carnival days and dunk tanks. I want to dunk peg, but yes.
Good luck.
Absolutely. They are 100% will be involved and included. I just honestly right now can tell you I don't know that we're going to do any of that because we want to minimize and mitigate any exposure. And all we're doing is increasing with those situations. Our kids will be going outside. They will have recess. They will have, what we're calling unmasking moments. But those large group activities, right now, I don't know that it's going to take place. And I hope it changes, but I don't. I mean, right, we're trying to figure out, we got to do meet the teacher night. It can probably be virtual, much different, but we're going to meet you. We're absolutely going to meet you, and you're going to meet us. But you're probably not going to walk through that door, and buy a raffle to the beautiful gifts that we have outside there. So all that is to be determined, and I'm hoping Danielle that we're able to get back to normal as quickly as we can.
Okay, thank you. Next is, it is August 12th. As we speak, we sit in a virtual town hall meeting. The district continues to have virtual board meetings. Those over 21 can't sit at a bar. Every school system that is or has attempted to reopen face-to-face has quickly experienced significant issues. College sports that generate billions of dollars have delayed or canceled their seasons. Professional athletes that make millions of dollars have no spectators. The numbers of new COVID cases have not stabilized. What is the rationale or decision-making process that has allowed for our students, staff, and community to have the option of being face-to-face in any way, shape, or form, as we again sit in a virtual town hall meeting due to safety concerns?
Well, we're sitting in a virtual town hall meeting, one, because it's convenient. Okay, it is very difficult to get everybody together. Two, a lot of what you are speaking about do not apply to the mountaintop area. I am being guided every single day by infectious control specialists locally, doctors. We have a pandemic task force. So we have a very, very low infection rate in the mountaintop area. The county is what's put us in that moderate level. Okay, we have had sports going on in the Crestwood School District since June 28th without any issues or concerns. Okay, so I hear these, I see this, sir, ma'am, online. The virtual town hall meeting, you realize every time we bring kids or people into a school, we're deep cleaning. So it's not because we don't believe that you're safe to come to a board meeting where I can absolutely provide you 60 feet between, because we usually have 30, 40 people. Our auditorium holds 700. It's also knowing the steps that we take after we have people coming into the building. So, there are, again, when you look at Mountaintop, when you look at our area, we still remain relatively a low risk. So any and every decision that's been made to date has been made with professional medical people guiding us step by step. And yeah, right now, if you lived in certain parts of Florida, it would be, in my opinion, not a way that I would go. If we were looking at, other parts of our county, it's, definitely got a much higher risk. So it's still a low risk in this area. But at the same time, as I said, things are changing, and the level of guidance that we were provided on August 10th has been much, much different than what we were provided to today. But I will disagree with a lot of statements in there because we have stabilized in Mountaintop. And the rationale for the decision is that we believe with social distancing, with 600 of our students in cyber, that has lessened the amount of students in our buildings, that our kids need what we provide face to face. We have kids, a lot of kids that we've provided 75,000 lunches since March 13th. 75,000 lunches. We've doubled Hazleton area. I live in Hazleton area. I serve on the Board of Education. So what I'm giving you is facts. We serve more lunches than Hazleton. They have 12,000 kids. We have 3,000 kids. They have a 69% economically disadvantaged. We have much, 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 much less. Our kids need us. They need our schools. They need our teachers. They need our mental health guidance, our social workers, occupational therapists, vision therapy, all the things that make it very, very difficult. So these decisions are not made easily and not made without understanding the risk in everything we do every day. But it's how much can we mitigate that risk? How much can we safely bring kids in? And again, the guidance that we were provided up until the 10th of August, we felt very, very comfortable with our plan. We are re-looking at that plan, and we've been re-looking at that plan from the 10th. And we will continue after this meeting, and I will meet with my Board of Education, who ultimately has to approve the plan. And things may very well change, but they're changing because the guidance changed, because it hasn't changed in Mountaintop. Again, we've had several hundred kids coming every day and participate in activities, and they've been safe. We've been doing temperature checks. We've been doing a list of 14, 15 questions. Parents have engaged and have taken on the role and responsibility of saying, haven't seen any symptoms, anything out of the ordinary. We have not traveled to these areas. So we've felt really confident and good in what we're providing to our, to our families. But there's no question I want to bring our kids back because that's what our kids need. But I'm not going to put anybody at risk. And I'm also have done everything we can for those parents that are concerned that they have an opportunity to still get the rigorous Crestwood academics and education and in the comfort of not having to be in the buildings.
Thank you, Mr. Mahalik. Next question is from Kristen. How long will the schools be closed if someone tests positive in any particular school? And is everyone that was exposed to the person expected to quarantine for 2 weeks?
So when there is a positive case, and this week, as most of you may know, we had a positive case in our high school. It was a construction worker. Our construction workers have been working in our building since April. Construction worker is not from our town, not from Mountaintop, and they go home each and every night, and some of them are traveling, 80, 90 miles a day. I give you this information because, again, we have taken steps to make sure that we're social distancing our staff from the construction teams that have been working. But when this employee became infected and we were notified on Monday late afternoon, the Department of Health took over and they started doing the contact tracing. And that's going to be the same situation as it is when there is a situation in school. They will lead the entire process. They will tell us who needs to be quarantined, if anyone, and what that will need to look like. In the instance of this person, okay, there was no recommendations for quarantining through their tracing methods, and there was no recommendation for us to close the building. We closed the building, which is only open to our staff, no students. are in our buildings. We closed the building and did a deep cleaning. One, because I said, that's our protocol during the school year. Let's try out these new machines we've got. We've got these high-tech electronic devices that spray chemical specifically designed for this type of virus, and we did that. Not recommended. In fact, I was told that's not a necessary step and not something that we would, encourage you to do. We did it. If there is a positive case during the year, it will be a 2 to 5 day closure where we'll revert to distance learning for those kids. And that 2 to 5 days, we're going to allow the contact tracing to take place. We would obviously do a deep cleaning, which, by the way, our protocol is deep cleaning every night. And during the day, we are going to rotate and hit all of our high traffic areas, computer rooms, doorknobs, bathrooms. They're going to be, per hour, we're going to hit those places because that's what our protocol is saying is the best for us to do to make sure there's no contact exchange. So we will absolutely close. We will communicate, as I did the other day, with our families. Again, there was no child ever in any danger of being infected, and there was no staff member in danger of being infected, but we still made the public statement of the positive case because we are going to be transparent on every single situation that comes out. That's the way myself and our administration will operate.
Thank you. The next is a couple parts here. Lauren asks, I understand that those that will be students in the Cyber Academy will be following the core standards, grade level coursework, etc. As of now, my mother, who is recently retired teacher, will be alternating with my husband, who at this moment is working remotely and overseeing my first graders coursework while I return to teaching in the Wilkes-Barre Area School District. What can I tell them regarding the daily expectations? Will there be set times for logins and participation? My concern is that they will be providing childcare for my 3-year-old. The days will be very chaotic. What can I do to simplify this transition? Will there be any consumable textbooks, or is everything completed on the Chromebook? As an educator, I believe our children have adapted exceptionally with our remote learning, but one concern is that they could lose their way with writing and using manipulatives.
Yeah, great question. I think John and Peg can jump in on this. I thought you looked familiar, Lauren. So now it makes a little more sense to me. Thank you. So let's go through this and give Lauren our best guidance.
Bob, I'll hop in there.
Yep, go ahead, Peg. I'm taking this piece by piece.
So what I vision, my conversation with Mr. Sayre at Fairview regarding the elementary was the kids would have a blend of some face-to-face time with printed materials in front of them, as well as some virtual time. Kids would not need to be specifically logging on at a specific time during the day, but they should be able to check in with a homeroom teacher, and that may be a defined time. The component that I think is the most important, specifically for our little guys and girls, is that we know that learning completely on a computer for a primary and early intermediate grade student is challenging. So there needs to be some kind of printed material, and what that's going to look like, I think they were going to lean heavily on the Connect Ed materials and the other things that were curriculum based that we used in our normal brick and mortar schools, specifically for K-1-2 students. The longer that we thought about it and the more we realized that those early literacy pieces of learning that letters make sounds and sounds make words, and words come together to form sentences, all really happens with that conversation and interaction, that you sound like you've really got a nice situation to help your kids do that. So that's where we are right at the moment. I think it'll be a blend of Edmentum as well as some of the Connect Ed and other pieces of curriculum bases. that we traditionally offer in our normal kindergarten, first and second grade classes. Mr. Gorham, is there anything else about homeroom and a time that they were going to check in?
Yeah, Mr. Sayre, he's doing a really good job with the elementary staff from K through 6, and really making sure that the rigor is there for the kids. You know, one of the things we do, and you're an educator, you'll know, is that when we do teacher and classroom observations, you know, if we go in there and we see a teacher in the elementary level lecturing to our kids for, you know, for an hour straight, that's obviously not something that would be conducive to learning for little kids because of their attention span. And when we speak about a virtual or a cyber platform, a lot of parents want to ask the question, how many live sessions are there going to be? When in reality, in the brick and mortar, there's really not that many live teaching sessions that go on. It's more of a short bursts of teaching followed by independent exploratory work by the students. So the model is going to look very similar in the Cyber Academy. And Mr. Sayre is requiring a minimum of 15 live sessions per week from his teachers. So there's going to be a lot of live sessions, and those schedules will be provided to the parents based on the individual teacher and who's on their roster and who they're working with. But it's going to be more along the lines of a live session, a short lesson on ELA, math, whatever it might be, and then the kids will go out and do their independent work, pull them back in for another live session, back out to do more work. So it's kind of keeping that engagement throughout the entire day as much as we can.
Okay, thank you both.
Mm-hmm.
Sydney asks, can you provide me 12th grade with a key or login for Edmentum to test drive the platform so I can make a sound evaluation and decision?
Yeah, let me see. Let me just see your specific question. I did see that earlier. Can you provide me with the 12th grade with a key or login for Edmentum? So yeah, we do have a password and a login for the Edmentum platform. I can provide that. The only difference is that within the last 4 to 5 weeks, we've had our teachers in every day, and they're building their own courses through the Edmentum platform. The Edmentum platform, and this is just on the secondary level, the Edmentum platform is the framework. We own the rights to the Edmentum platform. So when we utilize our own teachers, which is the best case scenario, they're building the courses through that platform. So you logging in and seeing what that looks like to navigate through Edmentum, you know, might give you an understanding, but it's not going to give you a full understanding of what it's going to look like. You know, if you have Mr. Bellis on the secondary campus, he's literally inserting his own teaching style and his own materials into that Edmentum framework. And you're gonna see that with each individual course, that this is exactly how I know that teacher teaches, and this is the assignments they require. But you certainly can look at the platform and see what it looks like. But yes, we can get that to you.
Thank you, Mr. Gorham. Maori asks, cyber teachers and school teachers are different? Question.
Yeah, so I can answer that one. That's a pretty simple answer. This is cyber teachers and school teachers. They are going to be the same teachers in a lot of regards. So in the elementary, we're staffing 100% K through 6 with our own brick and mortar teachers. You know, and that's a human resources situation and question and response. For various reasons, some teachers are going to be full-time cyber. On the secondary campus, some teachers are going to be brick and mortar and cyber, and some teachers on secondary campus are going to be full cyber. So yes, there's multiple answers there. Some are going to be the same and some are going to be, you know, but they've on the Crestwood secondary campus, yes, they are the same teachers.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Next is from Jen. I just want to make sure I understand the plan thus far for younger elementary age students. If you start the school year as a Crestwood Cyber Academy student, most learning would be asynchronous and not in real time. You would also have 2 to 3 live sessions per week per subject area. If there is a temporary school closure, cyber school will be unaffected and will just proceed as usual. If you start in as an in-person student and then there is a temporary school closure, you do not switch over to the actual cyber academy. You continue your academics via a separate distant learning process. It would be fully synchronous in real time and would follow the child's daily in-school schedule. Question.
Mute, Mr. Sayre, as that's.
I mean, I can answer that question. There's several parts to that question. So the simple response is if we do go fully virtual, the Cyber Academy will continue without interruption. That is the tremendous advantage. Obviously, the continuity of education would continue for those students. If we switch to virtual, the brick and mortar students would then go onto a virtual learning model. With that said, the teaching's not going to be fully synchronous because the schedules vary, for all students. There's a lot of components to that with the availability of the teachers. So it's not going to follow their daily schedule 100%. So it isn't fully synchronous.
I can jump in there and give you a snapshot of what the secondary campus would look like. And it's very similar to what the elementaries have in mind as well. The secondary campus would start, if we were in a complete distance learning situation where we are required to close, our distance learning module would look like the teachers start their day with office hours, and then somewhere around 9:30 would be a homeroom period, and then students would follow their check-ins with Google Classroom with their classroom teachers by periods throughout the day. So they would check in with their first period class, then approximately 30 to 40 minutes later, they check in with their second period class and proceed throughout their normal scheduled day so that they would be touching base with their teachers through Google Classroom that very well could be driving their instruction through either assignments posted in Google Classroom or Edmentum content that is specific to their course. So an example, I'll go back to math again. If I'm a student in Algebra 2, I would be typically in Mr. Bellis's Algebra 2 class. So I would check in with him during first period. He could give an introduction to the processes that we're learning in Algebra 2 this day, and then we'd work on his assignment and check in with him the following day during my first period class. So that's what the secondary campus would look like. Elementary follows a pretty similar model. They bring office hours, and then Mr. Sayre has designed defined times of day where students would meet with their math teacher, their science teacher, their English language arts teacher, and their social studies teacher throughout the day, and then finish up also with office hours at the end of the school day. So a virtual learning model would be pretty similar. They'd get a chance to touch base, and Mr. Sayre just got done, so I'll let him finish up that up.
Well, good morning, everybody. That was a lengthy question with a lot in there, so I'll take a swing here and see if I get the spirit of it correct. I think I heard the person saying, is there a difference between distance and cyber?
Yep.
To sum that up. And I just got off the training with the Crestwood Cyber Academy teachers in elementary. That's why I'm here late. And the biggest difference, and one of the pieces I left them with, is when we go distance, meaning we have to leave the building, it serves a purpose which is short-term in nature. It's meant to keep us having a continuity of education while we're not here face-to-face. So we've developed schedules this year that attempt to mimic your school day. There's more hand-holding in it. The teachers recognize they have to stay live and help the students, especially at our elementary level, to be successful. That could look like me delivering my content for 10 minutes giving meaningful practice, but me keeping my camera open so Peg Foster, the student, could come back in and say, excuse me, Mr. Sayre, I'm stuck here. Peg Foster, the student, then shares her screen and gets the assistance. On the cyber level, it's not your most traditional cyber. It's Crestwood Cyber Academy COVID, as I'm calling it. We understand that the majority of our cyber parents are considering this to get through this year because they're concerned for this year until things have a chance to stabilize. So it is done by our Crestwood teachers. We're in the process of refining schedules based on numbers and human resource. That, to Mr. Gorham's early point, we have between 10 to 15 live direct instruction sessions that then allow students to follow that up with meaningful independent practice and guided practice. But you have to understand, because none of you have lived in the cyber world, what that looks like. The resources we've selected are very interactive, very intuitive, very adaptive. If you get something, it explains why you got it wrong. It reteaches. The technology is there to stand in for the teacher, but we know that that's not ever perfect. But it's better than an open workbook in front of you. It responds more than an open paper and pencil workbook. So the best way I can sum up the difference between distance and cyber is distance is created as a short-term solution to mimic our face-to-face, and cyber has more of the components of the traditional cyber school, just with the Crestwood flavor added.
Okay, thank you all. The next question, is the district prepared with a solid, highly qualified substitute teacher pool for potential FFCRA leaves or Families First Coronavirus Response Act?
Yes.
Sanjeet asks, what will be the time frame for cyber school, like for kindergartners? I got you, Kevin. It says, what will be the time frame for cyber school, like for kindergartners?
So we would like, and we're going to survey our parents and work with our parents in every grade to understand how they intend on accessing it. I am of the belief that a large percentage of our parents in the Crestwood Cyber Academy are going to have their children available to work during the day, what would have been the school hours. But we need to determine that. So our schedule is going to run from 9 to 3:30. However, we understand that there may be need to access this later in the day, and we're prepared to offer recordings and on demand as needed. The preferred method obviously is to be there live while the schedule, during the schedule in real time. So this is a kindergarten student. Just had the conversation this morning with the kindergarten teacher. We're going to be taking information. How many people will be here from the traditional time from 9 to 3:30? Our teacher's going to know that because our teacher's going to have a connection with the children. And if the children that are all enrolled are all there at the scheduled time, we're actually going to adjust to that because that's our preferred. If it's 50-50, we'd make an adjustment for that as well. But the standard time, 9 to 3:30, with an asterisk.
Thank you, Mr. Sayre. Lauren Greeley, apologize in advance for getting personal again. My next question is one that I'm sure others probably have. If my husband ends up having to stop working remotely and return to his office, or we decide that cyber option isn't feasible for our family, how would we then return our son to in-school learning? Would it be difficult or a seamless transition? Would there be a delay in making such a switch? I'm concerned because his work status could change rapidly, and I don't want to be unprepared.
So, Lauren, again, a great question. And as we said, the consistency of staying in one program is very, very important. However, there are circumstances where, like you state here, where that may become impossible. Is it seamless? It's going to be as seamless as can be because you are, again, following along right with our, our elementary curriculum. Now, with that said, again, there's going to be something that's not completely aligned. In terms of the time to come back in, it's a matter of just, putting your child into a classroom. So from a staffing standpoint, we may have to do some adjustments, but there is no re-enrolling in the district. There is, none of those, those things that you would otherwise have to do if you weren't with us. So we understand that circumstances may change like that for people, and need to be that. We're saying is, if we're looking at, levels, and using, well, right now, that was a really great 2-week, span here in Luzerne County, as it's being reported. I feel maybe we can go back in because of that. That would probably be something that would be real, probably not real advantageous for yourself and for your child.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mahalik. Next is secondary level if full virtual, not cyber. When you say check in with teachers based on their schedules, are you suggesting that teachers will be synchronous every period, every day? What will be used for attendance? Would there be requirements to be online for synchronous sessions at any time? If so, will this be based on a schedule or at the teacher's discretion?
I'll take that one.
Okay.
I'll take that one. Let me back up. The schedule will be published based on the skeletal framework of the 2-hour delay schedule. So teachers would be expected to be online synchronous throughout the day, starting at roughly 9:30 and running through and including 2:24, which is our typical dismissal. So the expectation, very similar to what Mr. Sayre discussed, was the first 10 to 15 minutes of the class be a live virtual presence online where they are having conversations and introducing that new content, and then leaving their camera on and staying through that class period so that kids could ask questions about what that new content is. So I believe that's what you're referring to. Yes, it'll be online, synchronous, and scheduled.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Foster. Next is Jen. Will a student be able to start brick and mortar and then down the line potentially switch to the Crestwood Cyber if a parent deems more appropriate or necessary? I know, Mr. Mahalik, you touched on this, but.
Yeah, I mean, that option we certainly want to leave open. That's something that we believe is important. And again, we're going to strongly encourage our families to make that decision based upon circumstances that are going to be long term, not well. This week, my child really struggled with the mask. Last week it wasn't so bad, because again, there's not much going to change anytime soon that will make us believe that there's going to be a time where we don't have to wear masks indoors. The recommendation is wearing masks indoors. So again, we want to make sure that this switch is something that is going to benefit you and your child. And that's why we want you to give as much thought and us answer as many questions so that consistency is there for your child.
Thank you. This is in regards to the previous question that Mrs. Foster answered. Attendance question from previous question. Is it reasonable for students to follow a schedule every day, checking in with every class? Again, this may be more of a required attendance question. Will this be required of a student to do every day, every class?
Yep, I'll jump back into that one. Yes, education is required. Students must complete coursework. It is absolutely, and attendance is required. Grades are true percentage grades. This is not a pass-fail criteria anymore. This is not a voluntary requirement anymore. This is required attendance. So we will be monitoring and tracking attendance in Skyward. Grades will be entered and assignments will be entered into Skyward. You will see their percentage grades. So if they earned a 95%, they get a 95% for that assignment in Skyward. So all of those pieces would be just like you would see here, brick and mortar will continue in the virtual world.
Thank you, Ms. Foster. Kimberly asks, can younger children wear a face shield at their desk instead of a mask?
Yes, so right now with the guidance that the Department of Health and PDE has provided us, you can have a mask or a face shield. We are going to require masks only on the bus, but yes, we have already purchased shields for our students. I can tell you we've had some of our staff that have young children wearing the face shields just as a trial. Some of our students with special needs, I've provided them to the families already to just try them at home as well. And the shields, and we've got a very, very durable shield and a very comfortable shield that we purchased are definitely the preference. But again, there's times where that mask, especially on, have to be worn.
I'm just reading this next one. I think we touched on this. This was from Jen. Hopefully this wouldn't be the case, but if there ended up being a more long-term mandated closure, would all who started brick and mortar then be switched to the actual Crestwood Cyber, or would there still be two distant learning systems, Crestwood Cyber versus brick and mortar, but now doing distant learning?
Yes, you're correct, Jen, in that. There will be the Cyber Academy, remains the Cyber Academy. The brick and mortar is now more the distance learning platform.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Foster, this goes back to that previous question again. So attendance, previous question, daily attendance or attendance requirement for every class throughout the day if they do not need to check in, i.e. as long as they are getting work done and meeting other requirements. It may be difficult for older kids to be online for long lengths of time, especially if childcare is needed for them.
Yeah, I understand that, but I also understand that it's our responsibility to make sure that kids are getting what they need educationally. So the requirements to check in with their teachers, that can be, I know it's not going to be easy, but we're going to have to keep finding ways for kids to check in with their teacher. And if they're doing well, they're doing well. But the hard part is if they were here in school, they would be doing the same thing. So what we're attempting to do is replicate what would happen in our traditional brick and mortar school in a distance setting. And I know it's not going to be easy.
I do apologize. It was actually from them. I think what they're saying is if they had to use their older child for childcare purposes.
Right.
You know.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I know where she's going, and I get it. I get it.
Okay. Danielle, what is the Cyber Cafe? Will there be opportunities for tutoring, additional interaction should a child need assistance from their teacher?
Yeah, we can let Mr. Gorham speak about the Cyber Cafe. You have him muted or unmuted?
I got him. He turned his video off. I had to find him in the list. I don't know if I asked him mute twice. So let's see.
Was that me?
Yep. There you go. John, it's the last question about the Cyber Cafe. Will there be opportunities for tutoring, additional interaction should a child need assistance? And what is the Cyber Cafe?
All right, so the Cyber Cafe is, it's housed in the secondary campus. It's going to be a moderately sized location that has Wi-Fi connection. The students could come in there at a scheduled time. They have to schedule with myself or their building principal and, say that they need additional help. They would like to meet with a teacher. If they're a learning support student, they could meet with their learning support teacher, their case manager as well. They could come in there. They're welcome to get a lunch when they come into the building as well. Social distancing measures will be taken. There's going to be, Mr. Mahalik has provided a waiting area that the parents could come in for the younger ones. And then they could come into the cyber cafe and, get that little tutoring session that they might need, or, pick up work or do what they need to do.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gorham.
Hmm.
Mr. Mahalik, that finishes up the questions, and I know we're at the 11:30 almost mark, so I think that's our time.
Well, some excellent questions. And we know that, again, we don't believe this is the last time you should hear from us. So if you have something, please reach out to us. Email, you can email any one of us that are here. We are working to get back each and every one of your questions. So we appreciate so much your support. We, again, to remain united through this process, we believe that our children will be more resilient than ever before. We believe our school system will be stronger than ever, and it really will. It really will be the reason why we continue to be, one of the best academic school districts in the state. And I truly believe that is what we are. The data suggests that, but hopefully for you individually and personally, that's the experience you're having. So let's, again, continue to be this united school community as we've been since this started in March 13th. And I just express to you our gratitude to you and to your family. Remain well, be safe, and we will communicate with you as more information comes to us. So, thank you again.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.